and welcome to episode possibly 42. We're not sure. This episode is about how to say yes if you don't feel you're ready, or how to get started, or what did we
Whatever
say?
we're gonna name it, but it's just like, come on, get in there and
And honestly,
do it.
how to say yes if you don't feel ready, like that should be all the time. Like that should be like, when are we ever really ready?
That's the thing. Yeah, they're never ready.
I mean, I feel like this episode applies to me in the job I started a year ago. Just that, I took a jump and had to learn a whole new, yeah, career, way of life, everything. And yeah, how just one step at a time.
Yeah, you started a new job, something that you probably didn't feel that it was that you were ready for. But heck,
Mhm.
sometimes opportunity knocks, and you have to make that choice of whether you're going to answer that door or not. If you're always waiting for to be ready, opportunities are going to pass you by. You
Yeah.
have to just you have to start walking in order to get there. You're not it's one of these things of like, how do I get experience? By doing it. That's how you get good at it, by doing the thing. um but most of the time we keep waiting to do the thing, whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
until you are ready, until you're good enough, until you're this is like the craziness of it. It's like you're never going to get better at doing the thing until you start doing the thing. You
Yeah.
can't learn life, you can't learn anything just by reading it, right? And like, even if you follow a recipe, you can follow a recipe for a cake or cupcakes or something. The first time you will follow the recipe, and it might be good, but it gets better the more you make it, because you'll start
That's
learning.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, anything in life is like that.
Yeah.
This is what you have your first kid, you have no idea what you're doing. By the second one, you're an expert. Yeah. So I think we broke it down into little bite-sized ideas, and on just how to help if you are stuck, with the fear of starting out. Let's see if it may help. Hopefully this episode helps you push forward. So, fear of failure. We all have that. And I think in order to get past it, you have to accept that failure is part of it. It's going to happen. You're going to do something wrong at some point in this. You're going to say the wrong thing. If we take it to art, you're going to draw this thing a million times and it's not going to come out good, but it will have to be good enough to
Yeah.
get.
Oh,
You went
so
away,
oh,
your video went
sorry.
away.
Oh, I accidentally, sorry. Sorry.
um so Sunny got shy all of a sudden. Her
No,
video
I
just
don't know. I'm
disappeared.
just like fidgeting with my mouse and like I accidentally turned off my video.
It's almost like, I'm not saying like you have to be all doom and gloom and go, oh, this is probably going to come out wrong. But if you accept that it's not going to be perfect, you get past a little bit of that fear, that paralyzing fear. I think you were talking earlier before the we started the show, that you said having some fear is good.
Yeah, I think if you're not afraid, then when you stop being afraid of something, then it's probably time to try new things or move in a different direction, or that's I think that's part of living, because you need to be afraid. That means you're doing it right.
Yeah, life
Yeah.
has to have that risk, that
Yeah.
that little itchiness that you feel inside. You're like, I really want to do this, but what
Yeah.
if I'm not good at it or something, or if
Yeah.
it fails? That tells you that it matters to you, that you really want it.
Yeah. The
But
stakes are
it
higher.
Yeah, but it cannot be a fear that keeps you grounded, that you're not going to take that chance. So,
Yeah. Well, because if you just constantly live your life without doing things that scare you, then you become complacent and you're not really living.
so start taking little bites, maybe, to get to the. I'm going to tie this back to the beginning of me trying to go to this big conference. I've never been to something this big. I've never even done the big SCBWI conferences, mainly
Yeah.
because I couldn't afford them. And second, it's a big
Well,
commitment going
then
somewhere
COVID
else.
hit.
And then COVID and all that.
Yeah.
But I think what helps you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to take this chance is doing the little things that get you there. Taking the chance to do the first conference or the first get together or taking that first job or whatever it is that starts to build your confidence. And, getting over those little failures in between that a failure that might seem so big at the beginning and later on you're like, oh, okay, that's not a big deal. Even in this podcast, how at the beginning we were so afraid of saying the wrong thing or not sounding right or not looking right or whether the video was perfect and the sound were perfect. And then you get to the point you're like, okay, those little things are not stopping
It
you
doesn't
anymore
matter
from doing
anymore.
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that we care less, it's that you have grown past whatever it is that is stopping you from getting started.
Yeah. One bite at a
So
time.
get okay with failing. If you're submitting manuscripts and portfolios, you're going to get those. It's going to happen. So accept that that's going to happen. Um, I'm not, don't be pessimistic and oh, it's probably going to be a no. But yeah, you're probably going to get some no's, and that's all right. You're going to have to accept some of those things that you're not going to succeed right away. Um, Another thing, say you do take the job, you say you got my goodness, you send your portfolio out and you got a call back that says, would you like to illustrate this book? You are going to feel fear for sure. You're going to be like, oh, now we got real and I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes you're like, oh, this was a mistake, maybe I
And you may
shouldn't have
not even
sent it.
know where to start. You may,
Yeah,
like, especially if it's not your first book.
but most of the time, if you really look around, you're not alone. You are not
Yeah.
doing the job by yourself. Most of the time, you have a team, you have an art director, you have your agent, or you have a critique partner, you have a mentor. You have, when you started your job, did it just drop you on a desk and go, good luck, bye? Or
Uh,
you had a day? Nowhere.
kind of, but no, there were people around me who I could ask questions and yeah, learn from.
Most of the time, if someone hires you for a job, they're not trying to make you fail.
Yeah. They
You know,
want you
they
to do
try,
well. That's true. Yeah.
yeah. So if someone took the chance and said, "Hey, I want you to illustrate my book, or I want to write, or I want to pick up this thing," they
Yeah.
want you to be able to do the thing most of the
Yes.
time. So
Well, that's what's
don't
nice
fight
about
yourself.
traditional publishing. They have a team there to help you and guide you through the process. You're not on your
They
own.
do.
Yeah.
But
So
even in
it's nice.
self-publishing, you're not doing it alone. I know you are bouncing ideas from the person that's hiring you.
Yeah,
That could be
true.
good or bad, but
Yeah.
no one is hiring you for a job hoping you will fail.
No, that's
So
true. It's
someone
true.
is you do have a safety net, and you have the whole idea of having a community. So you can say, hey, I'm drawing this thing and I cannot figure out how to draw it in this angle, or is this whole like dummy or whatever it is you're working on boring? Does it need more angles changes? That's when you have your critique partners, you have your Facebook groups, you have your hire a mentor. I don't know and this is not, I'm closing my mentorship, so it's not like I am
You're not
I am not,
advertising.
I'm not advertising, but what I'm saying is hire someone to
Yeah.
help you through it if you have to. I've done that. I have helped people that have a job that they cannot do, and it's not that they cannot do it, that they just need a little extra help or someone to buy ideas from. That's perfectly fine. You're not alone. So if that is the fear that, oh my gosh, this job just came in and I don't know if I can do it, you're not alone. It's not going to be a big deal. You can do it. And you know what? It's not going to be perfect. So going
Yeah.
back to accepting failure, it's okay. It's not going to be perfect. Um, Taking one bite at a time. let me see what I wrote here, because I always like looking at the job as a whole will always look like an impossible task. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that's one of the things that stumps us the most. When you're like, oh, I want to I want to publish this book. Self-publishing, traditional publishing, I don't care. I want to publish this book. You're looking at the end of the task. And of course, it's a monumental job. Of course. If I say to you, draw 32 pages, it's huge. It's a huge job. And
Al-
that makes you
Although in
feel like you can do
publishing,
it.
sometimes people don't realize how big of a job it is when
It
they start,
is.
and it is a huge job. Yeah.
It is. But if you look at it like that, if you look at the big cake, you cannot eat it,
Yeah.
but you have to remember you will get that done, but you're gonna do it one slice at a time.
Hmm.
Nobody is gonna ask you, hey, I'm hiring you today, by tomorrow you should have a finished book. That doesn't happen. It's not like that's not how it works. You start with sketches and the concept and the character design, and then the color samples, and let's then you start tweaking things until you get to the big project. Is
Yeah.
so um sometimes when you have things to do in your life, huge tasks, it just seems like so much when you look at your to-do list. Sometimes like you have a to-do list, and I write something like prepare portfolio for submission. That is a huge task. It is written in one sentence, prepare
Yeah.
portfolio for submission, but what it entails is it's a huge project, right? But if you look at it like that, then it's going to paralyze you. It's going to get like, I am not ready for this. But
Yeah.
if you take
Just
one illustration at a
one at
time,
a time.
yes, if you do, if you're not on a time crunch, it is good to give ourselves deadlines just so that we don't battle forever. But if you're not on a time crunch, don't try to say, I am going to redo my entire portfolio in 3 months. Why? Like, you don't need that. But you could say, I am going to do one really good illustration a month,
Yeah.
or
That's
every
reasonable.
3 weeks, or every 2 weeks, whatever your time allows you to do. But then it becomes this, I'm taking, I don't remember who said this. I just went in a tangent in my head, but I think it was Will Smith, and I know he's not like the best like person right now, but
It's not the best example right now.
yeah,
But
not the
yeah.
best example because he did something stupid on it,
Yeah.
that completely inappropriate. What was that? Something just beeped in my ear. But I think he had said something. How do you build a wall? And it's putting one brick at a time, and you only concentrate about that brick being right. Don't worry about the whole wall. Just make sure that this brick that you're putting down right now is good, as good
Hmm.
as you can get it. Then you worry about the next brick, and then you worry about the next brick. So that is pretty much what we're saying about taking it one bite at a time. Don't try to take the whole thought of what this
Yeah.
because then you're self-sabotaging yourself,
They said there's a parable, I mean, a saying too about an elephant. How do you eat an elephant?
There you go.
It's one bite
Perfect.
at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
um you have to understand that obstacles are part of life. And let's how do you're okay, so I took a job to illustrate a book, and it seemed like a task. I had never done a book that fast, and I was like, can I do it in three? It was like 3 or 4 months. It was a really tight deadline. I was like, can I do this? I don't know if I can, but I took it. And guess what? You can do it. But I'm not saying that this is what you should be doing
Yeah. You're
every
not
time.
telling people they should
And
be.
if you're hiring an illustrator, please don't hire them to do it. But sometimes
Yeah.
jobs do come in with a tight deadline. And if that is not something you can do, then okay, don't take that job. I got,
And
you
you're
have
you're
to.
really fast. You're a fast
I'm a fast, my life
illustrator.
has
Yeah.
changed. My children are grown. I no longer have to drive anyone around. Everybody here is licensed, and they have vehicles, and they have gone, they're starting their college and their things. So my life's changed dramatically in 1 year. So I
Mm-hmm.
have more time. But with that, other things happen, family members start to get sick, bodies start to break down, other things happen. That's the beauty about life, is that it's never going to be without obstacles. That is just part of
Yeah.
life, right? It's like, um, just when you say everything's perfect, that's when something's gonna fail. So I think I put here the fish tank experience, because the I don't know if I talked this in another episode, but we had a 40-gallon fish tank in the basement.
That's big.
That it's huge, and it was mainly because when my parents come to visit, that's where they live there, and they like to have the fish tank. So the rest of the time it has a self feeder, and I'm kind of just wave at the fish, and they're like, "Hey, checking if you're okay," but I'm not really there. But when they come, I take off the self feeder so they can have the fun of feeding the fish and all that. But
Okay.
okay, so we were headed to bed, and I hear this sound like like a big sound, and I was like, okay, that sounds like when the water in the fish tank is too low. And it's funny how you can in your mind rationalize exactly what
Yeah.
that sound is. Like when you
Yeah.
hear your cat puking or something, you're like, that's puke.
Yeah.
So my husband and I went to the basement, and this moment shocks me in my head, that we saw 40 gallons of water on the floor,
uh,
and all of these gigantic fish just fly, like swimming in a little bit of water at the bottom. And we didn't say anything to each other, and we didn't panic, and we didn't go like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Nothing. Literally, I got a bucket, I got water, and I got the fish in the bucket. Meanwhile, he got the water vacuum, and then we put towels and try to keep the water from going into the baseboards. We went on
autopilot.
autopilot. Yes,
Yeah.
autopilot. There's a problem, it needs to be fixed. And I went upstairs to the tub. We never use this tub. I don't really take baths, but that's where I wash my dog. So I filled it with water, and there I had, I don't know how many fish swimming in my tub, and headed back downstairs and continued drying the floor. And then this was at night. We were heading to bed. My husband had to work the next day,
Oh,
like work outside of the
yeah.
house. We got, like, it's kind of like emergencies don't happen at convenient times, right?
Yeah.
And here we are taking this very heavy glass fish tank that obviously now has a leak outside, and all of this stuff. And what surprised me was like, it was just a hiccup in the day.
Mhm.
And if you stop panicking over the things that happen, all of these obstacles in your life just become part of your life. And some are bigger than others. Some are, big problems that obviously we don't discuss, because this is an illustration show. But there's big things that happen in life. I admire people that can have big emergencies and they still continue doing their things, and just, I don't know, they kind of understand that life has bumps on the road, and you get past
Yeah.
that bump and you keep going.
A lot of
um
times you don't ever hear about it. Yeah,
yeah,
because
a
they're
lot of the
not.
times you don't know. Yeah, a lot of times you don't know, because people just, you carry your own problems in your pocket.
Yeah.
But it's only a big deal if you make a big deal out of it.
Hmm.
So stop. Sometimes it's not the right time for things, yes, but I'll go back to, I broke my foot and I had surgery, and I still went to that first conference with a broken foot.
Yeah.
I had every excuse to say no, I can't do it, but it made a difference in my career, in my thing. So say yes to the thing, even if it doesn't seem like it's the right time, even if it doesn't seem like you can do it. You might fall flat on your face. It might not be great, but you do it. You do it anyway, and the next one will be easier, even past all the obstacles in life. um, I put here the phone call that you put off, because I don't know if this happens to everybody, but you know when you have to make a phone call to like a doctor's office or something, and you just
Yeah,
have to
I do it
just
all
put it
this.
off.
I always put it off. I'm
Why?
terrible.
Why
Uh-uh.
do we do that? It's like it's just a quick phone call, or to
No.
the bank, or something with the mortgage, or something
Well,
with the taxes, or
I mean, I
something.
don't like phone calls. That's part of it. And some people really don't. Some people have a hard time with phone calls. Phone calls are difficult, but
But if you do it,
but
how long
once
does
you
it
do it,
take?
yeah, then it's over and it's done. Yeah. And then
It
you're
takes
mad at
10
yourself
minutes,
for putting it off for months when you took care of it
right?
in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something arrives in the mail and you don't open that envelope because you can't bring yourself to do it. Open it, do it. Like it will take you 10 minutes, and it honestly is, we spend more time with the dreading of doing something or taking the chance to do it than to actually just do the task.
Mm-hmm.
um I think I jumped around, so I don't know where we are on the thought,
You're
but
under
yes, is a
time.
big one.
Oh,
This
you
is a
didn't
big
know.
one.
I think you did that.
Yeah, I mean, finding the time. We all
Yeah.
can find the time. So the big excuses: I'm not good enough and I don't have time for it. Right?
Yeah.
True. True to both. We are not good enough and we don't have the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
you'll never be good enough and you'll never have the time.
exactly. So if someone tells you, "Oh, I'm not good enough and I don't have the time," you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. We are all the same boat. We're all making it up as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
So do it anyway. So make the time. Um, we have some examples, like, you know, if you have time to look at reels for an hour, you have time. You had an hour. You just chose to put that time there. So find the time that you're choosing to put it on something else, and you will find enough time to get this task that you wanted to do, this job that you want to do, which when you do the job, whatever it is, you'll get faster and better at doing it next time. So you won't need as much time carved out of your day.
Yeah.
But time can be found. It just needs to be switched around, between, oh, I put there, maybe I won't go get a haircut for a few months. Maybe I won't. It's happened.
I find that very
It's funny.
it saves
No,
you so much time. How long
it
is your
does.
haircuts?
Hey, I don't color my hair because that's 3 hours sitting in a hair
Yeah.
salon putting chemicals in my head.
Yeah.
For what? For someone else to look at and say, "Oh, that looks good." I don't care what you think. I don't want to color my hair. So there's 3 hours that I don't have to spend on that.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone else, it might be important. That's fine. If that's your important, then find something else that you can put away, that you can say, "Okay, I don't need to do this right now.
Yeah.
I can." And I realize that's very like, oh, like I don't like to spend money on that. But some people, that's important to them, that that they are, whatever, that they look a certain way. That's not important to me, so I'm okay with not putting time and money and effort into that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other things, that is, like what I'm saying is, there is time, but you have to be willing to make some sacrifices and move your time around. There's 24 hours. Okay, put your time to sleep, put your time for your children, put your time for cooking, put your time for it. While we're doing this, we have chicken defrosting, because as soon as we're finished here, we're going to cook. And, like, you probably have laundry going because we made time for this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, it's very easy to look at the entire month and say, I have no time. But if you really look at each day, you have time. If you want to, I'm going to submit my portfolio to art directors, but I just don't have time to make my portfolio happen. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You just have to want to make the time to do that. Um, Making a list of art directors' emails, it is boring, and it is so much work,
Yeah.
and it is the most, that is like the phone call that you don't want to do. because
Yeah.
you're going to have to sit your butt in front of the computer and research each art director and find, unless maybe if you get a, well, we got the membership from SCBWI that gives you the book and then you can just look at the book. But still, even when you look at the book, you have to go into each
Yeah, you
website
still have
and
to
make
make
sure,
sure,
yeah,
yeah, make sure there's accepting submissions. Yeah, it's
that they're open. Yeah, because things change.
boring.
And then you have to make a list of emails and yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
if you do that, say you kill two blocks of time in 2 days and you got a list done. Say it takes you 3 days because your block of times are smaller. That's okay. Um, you got to do a whole portfolio. I need 10, 12 good illustrations. Okay. Start with one and you will have it. And you will do, like if you do it that way, then it's not such a huge task. If you say, I need to make a list of art directors' emails and submit my portfolio, you're gonna get stuck and you're not gonna do it. And you're not going to say yes to that. You're not gonna give yourself that yes. Um, and here's the big one, and jump in because I know I've been talking
I've
I've
been
been talking
trying,
all
but
of
I
it.
don't know
I'm
what to say.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. It's
It's
just that I
okay.
get passionate about these things because I'm like, come on, do the thing. It's the only way that is going to happen is if you do the thing. I think I'm passionate about it because I didn't do the thing for a long, long time. And I was like, and I wish somebody would have come to me and said, do the thing. Do that thing that you want to do, but why you keep waiting and that's and they because I was not good enough, because my art wasn't good enough, because I didn't have the time, because I didn't know how, because do the thing, because you're only going to learn how to do it when you start doing it. that's
Mm-hmm.
that's such a it's such a what is that word, like conundrum, is that what the word, like it's like you can't learn to do the thing until you start doing the thing.
Yeah.
So do the thing so that you can learn to do the thing. um I One thing that not feeling good enough, like I'm not good enough, I'm not, but if I sit there and I go, gosh, but I am not going to do it as good as Juana Martinez, or I'm not going to do it as good as Dan Santat, or I'm not going to do it as good as, just fill in the blank in whatever artist you admire. Well, heck no, of course you're never going to do it as good as them. You're not them, but you got the job, you got that job, then
Yeah.
do it.
They would have
uh,
hired them if they wanted if they
they would have
wanted.
hired them, but that the thing, and sometimes, and we're talking about if you already got the call to illustrate a book, but if you haven't gotten the call to illustrate the book, guess what you have to do? Make a book and submit it to agents, or submit it to art directors, or don't get an agent and get your list of art directors and submit your portfolio. And that is the job. The job is send your portfolio out,
Yeah.
and you're only going to do it when you actually when you do it. The first time I sent a portfolio out, I, so embarrassing, because this was like 20 something years ago after I graduated college. You would laugh. You would laugh, Sunny. You would say, like, that was ridiculous and absolutely laughable. I took prints out of everything I had and I cut them out. They were all different sizes. That's what I did. And I put them in an envelope and I sent them to art directors. I'm sure that they look terrible. None of the illustrations look like they belong to the same artist. It was like one
Yeah.
one
All
piece
over
of
the
this
place.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, printed on because I did it, with what I had at the time.
Like
I
printer
printed it
paper?
photo paper. At least
Oh.
I
Oh,
did it on
that's
photo paper.
decent. Yeah,
Wow.
that's all right.
Yes, but and then I cut each one out. So so art directors got like a bunch of little photographs that they were this big, tiny,
Oh.
and
How big
and
was the envelope they were in? Was it
an envelope, like
like a
an actual letter
letter
size,
letter size envelope?
a letter size envelope,
Yeah.
and they were loose in there. Like I am, my kids were little, and I remember doing this. I remember cutting each one of these. So there was time because my kids were right next to me and they were coloring, and I was cutting these little illustrations that I had done. But this was me trying before I knew, before conferences, before I knew about any of this. We're talking 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know the first thing about how to submit to your portfolio, but that's how I did it.
But
And
you tried. I give you an A
I
for
did the
effort.
thing
You did
exact.
it. Yeah, and
I
you
did
learned
the
from
thing.
that. Yeah.
I did learn from that.
You
Yeah,
learned
exactly.
that this doesn't work.
Well, a few God, that's nice. That it's a few people, a few art directors wrote back.
Oh,
Some
see,
of them said,
that's something.
"Thank you for sending this." I'm sure they laughed. I'm sure they went right into the trash bin. I'm sure they said, "Okay, this person is starting out."
Yeah.
It was obvious. Um, but it's okay. I took a chance. I said yes to the moment. I said yes to taking a chance at doing that. And a few, I actually got a call from one of them that wanted an illustration sample.
Mm.
And it was for a book that it was for a book that I actually saw published later on.
Oh,
This was 20 something years ago, like I'm telling you, a long time ago. So they obviously hired the other illustrator that was also doing the samples. But I got to I got to try some things. I got to and feel what it feels like when someone asks you, draw me some characters or send me a sketch.
yeah.
This is the page, send me a sketch. What would you do for this? Um,
It's
it's just
experience. It's still experience. Yeah.
yeah, you do not know what it feels like to be in the water until you put your toes in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can explain it to you, you can read all about it. You will never actually know what it feels like until you're doing it. So yeah, like take the chance to do the job. Someone else will definitely do it better. And yes, you are not good enough. Absolutely right. Now go do it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
because you will be better the next time than you were today from doing the job.
True. And this is Olga's pep talk.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I know. Jesus, I. This is why I teach classes. I, it. Well, okay. So yes, no, but this episode, this whole podcast that we created was about our journey, our experiences, so that you. I think you said it at the beginning of every episode at the intro, so
Yeah.
that you can avoid the mistakes that we made,
Yeah.
and we can tell you what has worked and hasn't worked. I think that's one of the things that you say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's having to say yes is a huge part of this job, of this
Yeah.
industry. You are not going to get in there without taking the chance to say yes.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds like good advice.
Sorry, I overtook this whole thing. And
No,
I don't know.
sorry.
I get passionate about this. I cannot, I'm like, let's go, let's do it. Jump.
Yeah. I was gonna say that because I worked in self-publishing, I feel like, yeah, now, well, even it's a lot of people just don't talk about this. And but yeah, you're working and you're getting paid, but when you're trying to go traditional and you're trying to work in traditional publishing, many people see that as a failure. Like they don't see that as the same thing. People who are in self-publishing, who are publishing their own books, see that as see the industry as success. But looking back at my old work, and I think any artist though would say this, they're old. Typically, they don't. Everyone sees their old work and sees where it has room for improvement, and you're never satisfied with the last thing you did. And but when I look at my portfolio with work from my self-published books, I feel like I even question even posting that, and I'm question posting my books because I felt like those were failures. Like they're not a success. But I think any illustrator feels that way with their past work. And I'm not saying that it's because they are in self-publishing. I'm just saying it's because that those were the bar for entry there was not, the gatekeepers are not as strict.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I was able to produce work that probably would not have passed in traditional publishing. So that's why I feel like it's a failure, because I know that I feel like it, um, but I do feel like I learned from it. And that's how I got to where I am now. And
See,
I
I don't
constantly
see
said
it.
yes. And I don't know if that's it's good.
I think it, honestly, I think we need to reframe what failure is. That, okay, so there is definitely a self-publishing and traditional publishing barrier or something, but it has gotten much closer now. And it like isn't, I don't think it's so much about the self-publishing and the traditional publishing. The only difference is the traditional publishing is harder because you have to meet certain criterias and pass through some gates. And
Yeah.
the other one doesn't, self-publishing doesn't have those gates. But still, it is a lot of work that goes into these books. Now, you don't have someone over your head going like, oh, it needs to be at this standard, or this is how much work you have to put in it. It has to look, like this. But there's a lot of fantastic self-published books there. Now, the
Yeah.
work that you did really good. Those covers that you did for the cats are beautiful. I love that cover that you did with the, I like that one with the cracker,
Oh, the
detective or
graham
something.
cracker
The crack.
detective.
So
Yeah.
regardless of whether those books make it big or don't make it big, you did some beautiful covers, and they should be displayed. So when you're saying like, you see that as failures because it's not in traditional publishing, that shouldn't be so, because you all those work that you did, doesn't matter who the client was, doesn't matter who the job is.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at. Like, so okay, so what's success? One book in traditional publishing, two books, a big publishing house, a smaller publishing house. Is that not a success? Of course, they're all successes. If self-publishing is not a success, it is a success. If you did the thing, if you
Yeah.
did the thing, it's a success. You did that thing. You did a whole book. You have done a bunch of books.
And I think that's where I struggle with now, is because I feel like all of that work is negated because I don't work in that area anymore. Like when I speak to people in self-publishing who are looking to hire an illustrator, they love the fact that I've done a bunch of books, and they love the fact that I can design a book and do a cover. But when I am looking to work in traditional publishing, I feel like that does, none of that matters anymore, because those were different, they're different standards, and it's a different market, and it's like, and I don't know if this applies to our topic of say yes if you don't feel you're ready, but I guess that for me, like I feel like I'm not ready, because even though I have all of this experience, I don't feel like it's the right kind of experience, in, you know what I mean, like it's
This,
I feel like I'm starting over and I have to prove myself that I can
I
be
think you just
better.
need to reframe your thinking on
I don't
this.
know.
If anyone that's listening, Sunny has more books than I have, like a ton of books that she has done,
Well,
because she had
illustrated.
clients even before I came into the scene, and did the thing. It's just that I had already made the decision that I didn't want to continue because I had already done the self-publishing with my own books. And I was like, okay, now I know that this is not what I want to do, that I want to do that. But that was a choice of, I'm willing to go ahead and learn this other world, which is the same world, it's just go through another door. That's all it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
why in the world would all that work that you put in, which is really good, not be success? It is success, and it
I
should be in your
but and
portfolio.
it's weird though, because there are a lot of illustrators who've done self-publishing before they went into traditional, and they hide it
and
and they
and
don't
they
speak of
do
it,
it, and
because
they do
they're,
it simultaneous also, not
yeah,
just one or the
because they're,
other.
it's like taboo, or
Hmm.
they are
I think
ashamed,
that's going away. I think
or
that's
I
going
don't,
away.
yeah, I don't know. It's a strange balancing, it's a balancing act that we
That is
do
very true.
as illustrators. Um, but yeah, it's
At the end of the day, is it not the same? You're trying to sell a book
yeah, and you just want to illustrate a book. You want
and
to,
you just want to make a book.
yeah.
So the only thing that matters is that you make the best book that you can. Those covers that you did for the cat books and the detective, those are my favorite ones that you've done. That I think it's more like going to middle grade or something. I don't know. I kind of like them.
Yeah, they're more, yeah, they are,
That
yeah. Or yeah.
they would have, you know, they would have been like, you cannot say, oh, they're self-published just by looking at them. There's some books, and you often do this, like you get online and you're like, okay, that's self-published. Like kind of like you can tell from the thing. There are some books, yes, that you can tell online that it's like, okay, this person did not go through a few reworks of that, cover or something. But that doesn't mean, I mean, that person did the thing. That person took their idea and said, yes, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
um when I did my self-publishing books before, I'm honestly, this is how little I knew about this stuff. I went up to the computer and I said, how do you publish a book?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And of course, the first things that came up with all these people that were asking me to give them $3,000 and they were going to help me publish my
Yeah.
book. And
Yeah.
I'm going like, I don't have $3,000, but I guess I have to come up with $3,000. I didn't know the first thing about anything. All I knew is that I wrote a book and I did the illustrations for it. That's all I knew. And I
Hmm.
didn't know how to put it together. I didn't know I needed a graphic designer. And that's how most people start.
That's
They
true. Yeah.
start with the ambition of, I have this idea and I want to make it happen. So later on, like, because I didn't have the $3,000, because I didn't have the money, I went in and I learned how to do it myself. And I got them on whatever it was back then, KDP, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this was before I knew that there were some rules, and I'm putting quotation marks, rules on how to write a book in today's market.
Hmm.
And this is before I knew how to I don't even think I even counted the pages. There was no count. I wrote a story and I did illustrations and I did like one page at a time. It was baby steps. But
Yeah.
because of those books, I was able to learn the next step to make to improve in my craft and to improve in my thing. Yeah, that's, you learn from everything. So everything, nothing's a failure in the sense of, oh, it's not good because it hasn't sold enough books, or it just sat there and only my family bought it. No, it's a failure if you didn't do it. So I really hope that you reframe the idea that all the work that you did there is not good, and just should definitely be in your portfolio, and that should be going to art directors now, because you
Mhm.
say you want to draw, illustrate, books in the traditional market. Send a portfolio out is the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Some of it
episode is
is.
for Sunny to say yes. Now I understand why you said that it speaks to you.
Yeah.
The thing is taking the chance. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? That someone will write back to you and say, no, they're not. They're probably not going to write back. That will be the no.
Yeah. I
If
mean, I've
someone takes the
sent
time
my
to write back,
I have sent
yeah,
my portfolio, just not
yeah,
not that since last May.
not that aggressively or that a
Not
little bit
since last
shyly.
year. I don't know why. Last like before, it's kind of like before I left self-publishing, I was more confident in my work than I am now, which is weird because I feel like I'm on a different playing field now. Like I have to appeal to yeah. Yeah, do you know, does that make sense?
Yes, but your work was good then, and it's still good now. And actually, the illustrations that you have done recently are better than the ones that you have done before. So it's like you're constantly, we are all constantly improving.
Yeah.
It's not a failure because the work that you did before is not what you want now. Is everything is a stepping stone. You can't get to the 10th step on a ladder if you don't step on the first one and the
Yeah.
second one. That you
And
cannot do
maybe
that.
that's the issue I have, is that my fear of failure in self-publishing, I didn't have a big fear of failure self-publishing because the stakes were, I was working with one person. They were, they of course I worried that, I couldn't do certain things, but I never felt like, oh, I don't have like a publishing house, or, like all these people who are dependent on that book to do well. And so it just felt like there was less pressure on me to produce, yeah, like, yeah,
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
so the stakes were lower, so I felt safer. That's it. I felt safer working there or being there, rather than when you're, although I mean, I don't feel like there's a difference between a small publisher and a big publisher. Yeah, I guess the pressure, there is more pressure to do better, but like, then that's why I feel it felt like I have no, I have my portfolio has to be better. It has to be perfect. It has to be this. Um,
I understand what you're saying. The whole that you say that pressure to do better, it is actually the same. Your client, your self-publishing client, deserves the same respect than a publishing house. There is no difference. They're both paying you their money
yeah.
to do the illustration of a book, and you are going to do the same kind of work. So there is no, because some
And
books in
I didn't
self-publishing have,
dedicate less. I didn't give them
you
less of
didn't.
myself. I just don't know why, to me there's like this roadblock of
Like you
like
think
it.
you can cut it in traditional.
Yeah.
Why? It is the same thing. It is illustrating a book, and you
Yeah.
have done the books. You have
Yeah.
done many, many books.
Yeah, I know.
It is exactly the same. If anything, it's harder to get the jobs because someone is not looking at price so much as I'm looking for this specific artist to meet this. That I think that's where I see the difference. That art directors hire the artists that they think would fit
Fits the
better this
story. Yeah.
manuscript. Yes.
Yeah. Which is
Versus
better. That's a
sometimes,
good thing. Yeah.
yeah, versus sometimes in self-publishing, the author is hiring whoever can do what they have in their imagination for
Yeah.
the budget that they have, because they are
Correct.
having
Yeah.
to pay for the illustrations themselves.
Yeah.
So that is the difference in how you're getting hired. But once you have the job, once you got hired, it is the exact same thing. You are doing
Mm-hmm.
sketches, you're doing character design, you're sending it. If anything, is a little bit easier because you have this team
Yeah, you have a support
that
network.
helps you. Yeah, that helps you,
Yeah.
carries you, and go, you know what, these little things here, do you think you can change here? Or um this angle looks a little bit weird, do you think I can change it around? And it's actually like in a very respectful way, that because there is a respect for the artist when you get feedback. So yeah, there is no jumping to a higher level. It is just crossing the line and
Yeah.
submitting to different clients. That's all it is. You're just submitting a
Yeah, I
portfolio to
know.
different clients.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm not good. This is actually really good, and it goes with this. I'm not good. There is no difference.
Yeah.
You will do the exact same thing that you have been doing, but for a different client.
Yeah.
And you always gave your best. You said you always drew and made these covers and these books as well as you could do, and you're going to do the same thing in the other side, and which is the same thing. If I were to illustrate a book
The other
now
side.
for the other side, cross the line,
Crossing over to the other side. Yeah.
to the other door, whatever,
Yeah.
however this virtual definition is, okay, of one house versus the other. um I would do the same thing if I wanted to hire to illustrate a book for a client that is in self-publishing. I'm going to do the same quality work. I am going to do the best that I can possibly do.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
definitely.
It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, you're paying me less, so you get less. Or you're paying me like, oh, this book is not going to be seen in a lot. It's carrying my name and it's going to have the best thing that I can possibly give you, whether it sits on a shelf in a library or it sits in someone's house. Because you never know. This is the work that has your name on it. So,
Yeah,
no, yeah, there is no jumping, nothing. There is no, you're already there. You're already good enough. You know, that's, you have more experience than I have. I think the difference is I take more chances. I think that's where the difference falls. I'm not as afraid to fail. So
or to
that's,
try.
or to try and for someone to laugh in my face and I'll be like, okay.
Yeah,
That's it. That's, it's just that. It's not, it's just taking the chance and trying it out and sending it out, and you might get
yeah,
one yes.
yeah,
Oh, I'm glad that we went back to recording because this was important. This was important, and I almost feel like I heard that in your voice many times, but it was never voiced and it was never said out
mm.
loud.
Now we're at Olga's therapy
Oh my
hour.
god! Oh my gosh! Yeah. Okay, I'm out. I'm out. Therapy hour. Ah, dear, seriously, we all need some therapy. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I don't know if we're in the summer or by fall by this one, but I see you next time.
Yeah,
Um, Hopefully by then we have news that we can share, and hopefully by there we know where we are if we are going back into the social media thing, where we
mm,
are. Find me on Blue Sky and Instagram for now.
yeah. Just go do something.
Just go do something. The it.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye.